Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we are stepping into the dusty boots of a gunslinger with Call of Juarez Gunslinger. I have recently unlocked every single achievement for this game and 100%ed it on Steam. This game throws you into the chaos of the Old West where every bullet counts and every decision can change your fate. After spending considerable time with it, I'm excited to share my review. As always, we're going to break it down into several different categories for a more well-rounded review. Starting off with the gameplay, we're going into our first category, which is originality. Now, Call of Juarez is a pretty original game. Although it stays true to the FPS elements, just kind of, point and click shoot type of game, there are several different aspects, which are the duels, the score attack kind of feel, and the time dilation. Those are the three main things I kind of took away from Call of Juarez. Now, the duel feature, in my opinion, it has one of the biggest, weirdest skill curves ever. It's not a fun feature in my opinion. Although, once you get good at it, it's pretty easy. It's just, they don't properly tell you how to do a duel. So it's kind of confusing at the start, especially when you just get thrown into it, after the first mission. But you can learn it if you look up, a guide pretty quickly. It's just, they don't really tell you. Now, one of the original features that's probably my favorite is the score attack kind of feel. So Call of Juarez has this interesting feature with combos and score where it feels like you're almost playing an arcade game. There's blood going all over your screen and you're just getting points for it, which is just an amazing feeling in an FPS game where you're just blowing people's heads off. That aspect really makes this game super, super fun. Also, the other aspect of time dilation, where you can slow down time and all the enemies are highlighted red and you can just pop their heads off one by one, is super satisfying. Super, super satisfying. So that's why for originality, I gave it an 8. Now, the difficulty and balance of this game, I really don't dock points off for difficulty and balance unless the game's super unbalanced or it feels like everybody who plays this game just gets stuck at one part. But for this game, there's not really too many parts that are super hard. It's kind of consistent throughout. You just point and click, shoot type of game. I did dock 1 point though because some achievements can be tedious and the difficulty of the game doesn't really come with the shooting part. Obviously, if people like first-person shooters, they're going to play this game and they probably have experience with that. The difficulty, really, I just knocked the point off because the duels, I think those are kind of dumb and not balanced and really weird difficulty-wise. It's kind of like a reaction time thing. It's just a dumb feature in my opinion that they could have done way better. I get the reaction time thing. That's how it's supposed to be in a duel. But you could have made it way better with just a more consistent feeling. Obviously, once somebody gets good at them, I got good at them and I did the duel round thing. It's not hard once you know how to do it. They should just explain it better in the tutorial or the first mission. I should not have to look up a guide on how to do a duel in the game. That's just kind of ridiculous. But, it only got docked 1 point, so still a 9 out of 10 for difficulty and balance. Now, the next category is progression. And, in most first-person shooters, there's not too much progression. I gave Call of Juarez a 6 out of 10 because, they still had, the weapon upgrades, all that kind of stuff, and, the skills. Which, all right, it's all right, but it's not anywhere near a 10 out of 10 progression. You're not getting new gear, new upgrades to your guns that significantly make an impact. It's kind of just basic upgrades, it's just making your weapons slightly better. Overall, they could have went way more in depth with it, but I know that's not kind of the direction this game was headed in and not the audience it was kind of drawing in. Now, as for the score for progression, I gave it a 6 because, they could add way more elements. You could be able to customize your guy way better, your outlaw way better and with skills and skill trees and all that stuff. But, this is just made to be a Wild West FPS shooter. So 6 out of 10. Moving on to replayability. This game actually has one of the most replayable features in any FPS I've ever played, which is the arcade mode. So in this game, they have the arcade mode where you can go through almost missions and just improve your score and check the leaderboards. Now, I have so much fun with this mode. I think the arcade mode in this game is honestly amazing, and it makes you just it just makes you want to shoot for that top score, not dropping your combo whatsoever. And if you do drop your combo, you're just man, I got to restart the mission just so you can do it again. It is a really fun feature, and that's what keeps this game having me come back to it every once in a while. The story, you know, it's not too replayable. I don't think I would ever choose to play the story over arcade mode after beating it. But this game scores a 7 out of 10 for replayability, mainly just because of the arcade, you know? It's just fun. If you want to shoot somebody in like a western town, this is the game you're going to go to, you know? It's just like an arcade game. All right, now we're going to shift from the gameplay aspects to the game design aspects. Now, the overarching category is like story. But story in this game, I found it not super interesting. I was intrigued like occasionally, but it was just like an average kind of story, you know. The main thing that like drew me into it was the gameplay and like kind of the setting. And to be honest, I didn't play the story that long ago, and I can't even remember like more than like 2 characters. Like, so I gave it a 3 out of 10 for characters, just because, you know, if you think the game has a good story, more power to you. But I think the gameplay kind of makes the story lackluster. I think more people are focused on the gameplay in this game than the story, just for the sheer aspect that 90% of the game is just going from point to point shooting enemies. It's not really cutscenes and all that kind of stuff. It's just going point to point shooting enemy. And that's what's so much fun about the game. So the story's not going to hold it too far back, but like that's not what it's designed to be. So 3 out of 10 for the characters. For the dialogue, there wasn't, like, I can't remember much of the dialogue, you know. It's like one character screaming at the other, and then it's like duel, or it's like, oh, shoot him, you know. So for characters, it got a 3 out of 10, and the dialogue's not much better. It's going to be a 4 out of 10. You know, there's not really many cutscenes and all that kind of stuff, so you can't expect the dialogue to be spectacular, especially in an arcade game like this that came out years ago. Now for the setting, the Western setting in this game is really cool, right? But it's just an average setting, you know? There's not super cool areas. It's just kind of what you're expecting from a Western game. It's pretty nice throughout, though. I will say, like, fighting through the saloons and all that kind of stuff, it's just kind of average, though. It's what I expected. That's kind of the best way to put it, is just, it's what you expect whenever you're going into this game. It's not going to blow you away. It's just going to be what you expect. So for that reason, it's a 5 out of 10 for setting. Now moving more towards the style of this game. So for the graphics, I gave it a 6 out of 10. It's not going to blow you away graphically. It's an older game. I think the graphics are pretty similar to the Borderlands franchise, where they're kind of cartoony. In this game, I don't think they need like super good graphics. It's just kind of just thrown in there. I think they're all right, and I think they do their job. That's all I really have to say about them. Now for the audio and sounds. So I think this game is pretty satisfying when it comes to like the sounds and all that kind of stuff. But they do get repetitive after a while, and they just do their job. It's just average sound effects. So 5 out of 10. The soundtrack, I don't really remember much. It's just kind of playing in the background. The main reason it even gets this average score is just because when you're shooting a shotgun or like the pistol, it is pretty satisfying. It is all right. Now for the bugs, UI, and performance under the optimization category. Starting off with bugs, I didn't really take too much off here. I encountered like one bug where an enemy was glitched out of the map, but that was about it. So I only took off 1 point. It's a 9 out of 10. The game doesn't really have that many problems. It's pretty fun, you know. You don't have to worry about like nowadays in the 2020s where the game comes out incomplete and you're just like lagging out every 2 seconds, or your game's crashing every 10 seconds. Like, you don't got to worry about that. Or like, I guess for more of the bug category, you don't have to worry about, say, an enemy being invincible for no reason. You don't have to worry about that. Everything works perfectly fine. At least in my experience, it worked pretty much fine. So I gave it a 9 out of 10 for bugs, you know, didn't have too many. UI, so the user interface for Call of Juarez, it's all right, you know, it's all right. It's just like the bare bones what you need. They could have more like statistics shown and all this stuff. So I gave it a 6 out of 10. You know, it could be way better. And for performance, I gave it a 9 out of 10. This game is not going to be hard to run for anybody. Yeah, your mom's laptop could probably run this game. At this point, it's an older game, and it runs flawlessly and smoothly in my experience. I don't think it's ever crashed, so that's one good thing. Now, for the overall statistical score review, it was a 6.4 out of 10, which is considerably above average. Especially for an older game, this is a really good score. This game definitely demonstrates what it is to be a fun arcadey shooter type of game. And for that reason, I'm glad I got a 6.4 out of 10. You know, super fun game. Everybody should try this game, especially if it falls into the niche you're looking for, which is like a Western shooter. There's not too many out there that are good anymore. So definitely look back at Call of Juarez Gunslinger. This game is amazing.